Thank you for joining the Salty Witches podcast. I'm your host, Austin, and of course we have your second host as well.
Hello, I'm Mike.
And we're super excited for tonight, because tonight...
Grab the camera!
What the fuck?
Austin, wake up.
What? Why is it dark? I feel like I'm surrounded by bullshittery. Our Dedicants decided it was time for us to go through an initiation ritual. Those filthy witches. We've done so much for them. We've done so much for them. Are your hands also tied? I think so. This takes being both down to an entirely new level. I feel like there are Cheetos in the room, though. My Cheeto senses are tingling. You have a very keen Cheeto sense. And for some reason, I feel like I'm surrounded by tits, dick, ass, something. God, at least they didn't use salt. They know better than that. Is there
That's taking things too far.
Are you getting some weird feeling of like some bullshit smell?
I don't know. I just really have to be.
Yep. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ash.
Hi, I'm Victoria.
Hi, I'm Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and you're joining the Salty Witches podcast, Dedicant Takeover edition.
Hey.
Tonight, without giving too much away, we're going to go over the process of dedicating to a coven and the journey along the way.
Our story starts at Shadowfest 2022. But you're not here for that. You guys want the tea.
We'll talk about the challenges, the victories, and our individual paths along the journey.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So who wants to start?
Let's start with you, because you have
Let's
the
start with
biggest
me.
story, I feel
I
like.
have the biggest story. I think I was the first one to ask to dedicate in last year. I had a Wiccan phase. I'm a lapsed Wiccan, and I did have a coven when I was doing that, and I said never again with a coven until I met the guys here. They were sort of surprised when I asked because they knew my backstory, but I love this group. I love everyone in it, and I just wanted to be a bigger part of that.
Me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I've been on the witchcraft path for a really long time. Tried other stores, tried other classes, and I could never find anyone that had the same mentality about witchcraft as I did. And I always felt like I stuck out because I don't believe in like rule of three and those things. So I started listening to the Salty Witches podcast after I found out the store had been here for like a couple of years. I don't know how it took me so long to find it, but I was listening to the podcast and I absolutely adored these guys, and I started taking a bunch of classes, and now I'm here.
So, my story, I didn't realize I was raised in a witchcraft family until about 4 years ago when I found the shop. And I started taking classes, and there were so many things, and I'm like, oh, my mom does this, or my grandmother does this. Like, this makes so much sense in my head, but there was never, like, a rhyme or a reason behind it. It was just something, like, we did. And so I started taking classes about 4 years ago. I took the Awaken the Witch class, which highly recommend.
Highly.
It's beautiful. It's amazing structure. And that kind of helped me step into my power and who I am. That was about 2 years ago. And then this last year, I heard that they were accepting Dedicants again. So I jumped on the train and was like, please. And here we are.
Well, I got serious about my craft in like 2015, and a few years later I heard that they opened up this shop, and I meant to get around, but it was around the time of the pandemic that I finally actually was able to make it around here. And that day, when I came in, Austin was talking about Awakening the Witch. I was like, yeah, sign me up for that, because I was looking for more structure and to get a little bit more serious. There was so much information out there that it was really hard as a solitary practitioner to sort through what was bullshit and what was reliable information. And so I was looking for like mentorship. Took that class. It was awesome. I took a few months off. I gave myself some time to like let the things that I had learned during the class soak in, and then I was like the last one to approach about dedicating. It was like the week before, so I was like fast tracked through it, and yeah, here we are. Talking to y'all.
So what's the process been like? Has it been, I know for me it hasn't been what I was expecting it to be.
No, fully.
Yeah.
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 Because I mean, like when I first like started getting into witchcraft, I was listening to a lot of podcasts and like kind of stuff talking about it and like talking about like the process of dedicating, and so I had like a certain idea in my head of like what a coven was and like what my role would be in a coven, and then like this experience, and like don't get me wrong, it's 1,000 times better than anyone had ever like described, but this experience is so different and so unique than a lot of the other like groups out there and what like they're willing to talk about kind of thing. But,
Right. We are treated incredibly well. They're very open about everything. It's not like, oh, you're a dedicate, you're a rung below everybody else. We're very much treated equal but not equal because we're not initiates yet.
Yeah.
But
should we go over what being a dedicant like means?
Yeah,
I guess?
go ahead.
Okay, so in order to dedicate into a coven, it means that you've approached a coven and you have like it's usually a year depending on what type of like group or coven you like reach out to. In our case, it's a year. So we all approached the coven. We were initiated as dedicants, and then we are in the last 3/4 of our year of being dedicants, and then come the Shadowfest or Halloween, Samhain, whatever you want to call it, we will either be initiated or let go.
Yeah.
There's not a guarantee of either one. It's up in the air, and all we can do is hope.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
I think one of the things that you mentioned that's one of the things that I was looking for in even considering joining a coven is the coven structure. And one of the things that I love about our coven is that there is a hierarchy, but everybody's sovereignty is respected.
Yes. We are very much a group of witches in our own right that come together to do workings. So we're not dependent on the other coven members to do anything.
Exactly.
Because there could be any configuration of how a coven is set up. But I think for me that was a big green flag.
Yeah.
And I had seen it in practice. Because I mean we were around for all of us for a while.
Wow,
before.
Yeah.
I was sniffing him out for like a year and a half before I even asked.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, there are, like, things that, like, so, like, I had a spell that I had to do in my personal life that I was kind of like, I need more people to do this with. Like, it involved a fire and throwing stuff across the fire. And so I was like, I need my coven for this. And there is no humanly way for me to do this by myself. And so it was easy as sending a message, and then everyone was like, yeah, let's, this date, this time, like, let's go. And then I think we all had way too much fun in that spell. Like,
yes.
It was iconic, though.
It worked immediately.
It did.
Yeah.
But even, like, outside of that, like, there's stuff that we all do in our own practices that are strictly just us. Like, there are some things that we do, like, we celebrate our holidays and then help each other where needed, but we more, like, we support each other instead of having to rely on one another.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, just to build on what you were saying, there was something that happened in my life that I wasn't I was not seeing clearly. I was not in a mental state to do my own scrying and divination and get answers. I couldn't trust anything, and so I reached out to the coven, and last minute everybody showed up. I got direction and guidance, and that is the current path that I'm on right now, and this is in my personal life. So I think, you know, in tandem with, like, I'm making myself sound like a crazy person, and it's fine. Okay, I am, but it's
You're good.
We're the Dedicants. We're not normal, okay?
Yeah.
You might have seen us around the shop.
in combination with, like, therapy and stuff, like talking to a professional. I think that was really meaningful to me to know that there's a group of people that I can call to say, like, oh my god, I have to get outside voices and outside perspective, and they showed up. So
Well, not only that, like when my father-in-law was in the hospital or Michelle's sister was hurt, we couldn't meet all in person, but we all did a spell at our place to help out with those things. So, I mean, there's that kind of community too, where we don't necessarily have to get together to help each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do, like when our Coven brother passed away, we were here. Everybody showed up.
Everybody.
And
The second
there was
we heard,
no,
I think we all flocked in.
there was no
Like,
question that the entire Coven was going to be here
Yeah.
to help everybody through it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think it's important to say though, that a coven's not a friend group. 'Cause
No.
that's a very large misconception that I've just noticed across the witchcraft community. Yes, we all have friendships and relationships with one another, but that wasn't the reason for us to join the coven. The reason, at least personally speaking, my reason to join the coven was to learn more and learn from other people in different perspectives than what was given to me in my personal life and with just talking with the boys. And don't get me wrong, I learned so much from them, but I've learned so much more from the people at this table and the other members of the coven, just kind of being oh, instead of using this herb, use this one. It'll sting more or it'll soothe better, kind of a thing. But yeah,
We have to remember to untie them before we leave.
we probably should.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll be back here tomorrow.
that's true.
maybe it'll be good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleep over
Like
in the
camping.
garage.
Yeah.
It's fine. That's fine.
Just another thing to add to that is that, and I think that everything that you could, every podcast, every YouTube video, everything you can look at will say this, that you do not have to join a coven to be a witch.
No.
No.
There are a lot of benefits to joining a coven, but it's also comes with its own challenges. So what would you guys say has been one of the biggest challenges that you've faced joining the coven?
For me, I'm very much one of those people where if I don't know, I will figure it out myself. I'm a strong, independent witch. So it's been giving that up a little bit and relying on my coven mates a little bit more. So that's been my big challenge.
Mine's been asking for help because for basically all of my life, I've kind of I figured out things on my own when I shouldn't. Sorry, did I steal yours? My bad. We can say this together, okay? But with a coven, you put yourself in a very vulnerable position, and all of you is out on the table for everyone to see. But with our group especially, I could come in being I don't know what to do. I'm depressed out of my mind. I just sobbing, and don't get me wrong, I have. And every one of them has been okay, what can I do to help you? What do you need from me to get past this? Do you need me to drive you to therapy? What do you need? And I don't know, that's been a huge blessing in my life to just be able to not realize, I know, I always cry, I'm the crybaby. To be able to have someone offer help instead of me feeling I need to ask for help when I don't know what to do anymore. But yeah. You're just gonna say ditto or?
No. I would say what these two said also, but on top of that, I am a huge planner. So when people like to be let's meet tonight, and I'm crap. But that's been the biggest thing that's been a struggle for me because I have plans, but then I drop everything to go do that, and it's just been a struggle.
You definitely you have to relook at your priorities when joining a coven.
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong, family and work is so important, and you should definitely prioritize those things. But at least in my experience, my priorities are family, work, and then coven.
Yes.
End of story. Any friends, social gatherings, anything else is all behind the coven.
Yeah.
I also would rather come to the full moons and dark moons than go out most nights. I don't know. But what about you? What's been your most challenging thing?
I would say, I'm not sure, we've never taken a vote, but I would say in the coven, we have a lot of extroverted folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very introverted, and so it can be hard for me to do even things like this, or lead rituals and things like that. And I think it's been, I guess, kind of a good thing to, this is where the growth happens, is when you're uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
but it is hard. It is
It
hard.
is.
And I think it's something that's going to be hard for me forever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and I mean, like, we're put in, we're put into situations that are completely safe for us, but are also completely uncomfortable. So,
Yeah.
like, we were all given the task that we needed to write a ritual together. We needed to plan the ritual. We needed to do everything around this and then perform it with the Coven, kind of a thing. And I feel like I can kind of speak for all of us, but going into that, we're all like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, please don't do this to us. And then we actually, like, sat down and was like, okay, like, they give us, like, base archetypes to go off of, and then, like, we kind of, like, had a plan, and then Michelle had a dream of, like, what the ritual needed to be. I'm terrified to ever look in her dream journal. But, like, she had a dream and then messaged all of us at 3 a.m. being like, this is what we're doing, this is, like, perfect. And, like, we made a few tweaks here and there, and then, like, I don't know, I say this with all the love. The boys aren't the best at, like, telling us when we're doing, like, a good job.
No.
But
That's why they're tied up.
yep. But with, like, this ritual, for example, it was automatically like, holy cow, we're impressed. Like, you guys did amazing. Like, this was one of the funnest rituals we've been in. Like, all of that kind of stuff. And, like, that was very, like, validating for all of us on, like, our journeys, I feel like.
And that's why we'll untie him later.
Yeah.
So how did you guys find the shop? Let's go through that.
Oh. Okay. So, it was my husband.
Your muggle husband.
My muggle husband was like, did you know that there's a new witch shop in Taylorsville? And I'm like, no. I'm like, it's not the Bog. And he's like, no. And I'm like, take me there now. And then I came in and talked to Mike, and he never got rid of me. Just like Austin told me on the first moon ritual, don't be a stranger,
Yep,
and now
me
look.
too. Be
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Yep.
See, so I had always collected crystals. Like, that just was part of my childhood, was shiny rocks. And so I think I was searching for new crystal shops, and then Cat and Cauldron popped up, and I was like, I like cats. Okay, like, let me go in and see what it's about. And I met Austin, and this is why I'm a crybaby. I met Austin, we were talking, and I instantly just started sobbing. And he was just like, okay, take a deep breath, like, you're fine, like, what's going on? And then he couldn't get rid of me. Like, I've been here for 4 years. I live here now. Like, it's fine. But, yeah.
Yep.
I remember
I don't
one.
remember.
You don't remember?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I honestly, I think I want to say just like on Facebook or something. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to go check it out. Great. And then I did, and it's like,
And then
then it's all
There you
been
go.
one big blur, and now I'm sitting here.
Valid?
There you go.
valid.
For me, I had been thinking for a while, because I fell off the path for a while, and I had been thinking that I needed to get back on the path, get back to my craft. How am I going to do that? I'm in Utah, for God's sake.
Vibes.
Vibes.
So many
And
vibes.
I was dropping a package off at UPS across the street here, and instead of going out the way I usually go out onto Redwood, I went out the back way and stopped at the stop sign and looked across the street, and I saw the sign for Cat and Cauldron, and I was like, So I went home and Facebooked them and stalked them and looked at everything and came in and checked the shop out and thought Mike was kind of grumpy.
He is kind of grumpy
Kind of grumpy.
sometimes.
And then I came to a moon ritual, and I was crying at the end of it, and I told Austin, I have not been in a ritual in 25 years almost, and this was like coming home. And that's what the whole experience of the store, and especially the Coven, has been, is like coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's something that, like, feels right and natural to all of us.
Yes.
Like, I feel like it, like I said, like, yes, there's moments where we're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm mentally, like, but at the end of the day, like, this is kind of like our chosen family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we fight like siblings, like, we get along like siblings, like, it, even though they're, like, there's different age ranges in between all of us. Like, I call you mom.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
I'm her witch mom.
Yes.
She's the baby.
I am. Hello.
What else?
Really boring for the listeners just listening.
I know,
about
just
the
listening
video,
to us
guys.
here.
Awkward silence.
Can you hear them struggling in there?
No.
Okay, good.
I think Austin fell asleep again.
Let me astral
Probably.
travel and see what they're doing. Okay, they're still tied up.
Okay,
good.
good.
We're good.
Perfect.
Well, what I noticed on my path was that, like, there are different points where you start to feel more powerful, and I'm wondering, how did that work for you? What was your experience like coming into power in the Coven? Or was it different than working solitary?
Yes.
Like,
Definitely.
Want to
Yeah.
talk about that some?
Yeah.
I think I came into power during Awakening the Witch. That
Same.
was when I really started
Yeah.
coming into power.
Well, because Awaken the Witch, it forces you to
that
incorporate
binding we
witchcraft
did.
into every,
Yes.
like, into your everyday life. Like, it's not something that you can be like, oh, well, I'll just do this on Tuesdays. Like, you have to do it every day. And,
Yeah.
like, that is what witchcraft is. Like, because, in my opinion, witchcraft is the exchange of energy that happens every day in everything. When you touch an item, that's an exchange of energy. And so there's so many, like, different aspects of witchcraft. I think when I first stepped into my power was in Awaken the Witch. I think in a coven sense was when we led our own ritual. Because
Yeah.
Yes.
that each one of us had like a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm in charge of this part kind of a thing. And so I think in order to do that, we had to step up. It was step up or step out. Like we all stepped up. Like we did what we needed to. And that was the first time that I was like, holy cow, I did that. Like I did my part. We killed the entire ritual. Like, yeah.
It was fun.
That was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
For me, it was feeling that, like, click of the coven spirits saying, okay, I see you.
Oh, yes.
That
They are
was-
quite persistent.
They are. They are. There was one that Bonnie and I we took classes together all the time. We would sit together all the time. And there was one that would, like, stand behind us.
I'd be like, he's back. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying to take notes.
But that feeling once we dedicated of, like, the spirits accepting you as part of the coven was definitely empowering.
Yes. That was also empowering.
Yeah.
Mine was also during Awakening the Witch. We had a ritual that we had to do, and I had something show up that I was having like a visualization, and it was like almost like a bull head, and it was like staring me down like right in my face. And instead of like being like, oh my god, what the fuck, and like bailing out, I just held my ground, and it was like this moment of like, I don't know, just really like a lot of power, and it felt pretty good. I had to share. The praise doesn't come often, and it didn't come then, but we know it did. It was like, that was great that you stood. Mike said that was great that you stood your. That's like a scary thing that may happen.
Yeah.
I still think about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's cool.
my Lucifer ritual made me bawl, like, ugly cry forever. But
See, my ritual is why I have the relationship I have with him.
Yeah.
So, just for new listeners, I guess, we are not
Yeah, go
talking
ahead and talk
about
about that.
the red, scary Christian Lucifer. We are talking about our deity, Lucifer. He's like the reason why, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's the Roman Lucifer.
Like, he's the Roman Lucifer. He's
The morning
the morning star, the bringer of light. Like, he shines light onto the subjects that you are not comfortable with, if that makes sense. But so, in my Lucifer ritual, I did a path working. Was my first time like meeting him, I guess. It was one that the shop did. Highly recommend the path workings. They are amazing. Austin was leading everyone into like a forest, and I'm somewhere just in the middle of a desert, and there was like a blue like orb, and I was like, well, what is that? And so I went over and like touched it, and then like everything kind of like blew back, and it like turned white, and then I woke up, or like I didn't wake up because I astral travel, but like I opened my metaphoric eyes, I guess, and just like saw the sky, and then there was like just this like blonde guy hanging over me, and he's like, "Oh, cool, what's up?" And like I probably have the most relaxed relationship with Lucifer because of that reason. And he's very much like, if I'm gonna go do a baneful working, he's like, yeah, let's get him. Like, let's go, kind of a thing. Or even if I'm healing, he's like, okay, like let's put a little sun here, like it'll be fine. Whereas I feel like I'm
mine wasn't
for you,
scary.
right?
I was ugly crying because he's like the dad I didn't have but always wanted kind of thing.
That's what they said.
Like big old hug, I'm proud of you kind of thing going on. So that's why I like ugly cried. It wasn't scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like with all of our deities, they're like the like ideal like parent kind of a thing. Like Hecate is very like, as much as she can be stern with you and very straightforward, she's also equally like as warm and like she accepts everything. And I don't work with Diana as much as like the rest of you guys.
Diana's the mom that bakes you cookies.
Yeah.
I loved that analogy you used. She's the mom that makes you cookies. Hecate is the mom that gives you the like look.
The look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the nod.
Or the nod.
Yeah.
Awkward silence.
Okay, so
awkward
we do have a
silence.
list of questions that's kind of been like commonly asked stuff to us as Dedicants, if I can find it.
While you're pulling that
Does
up,
this
I do
normally
remember
happen?
one.
What's up?
How do you handle non-magical practitioners or people that are not familiar with practicing witchcraft?
Like
I got it.
the partners and the husbands. And my husband's very much a muggle. He doesn't really get it, but he's very supportive of me. So he told me today that if there's a weird liquid in the house, he knows I have something to do with it. So
Yeah.
he has accepted my collection of rocks and keeping eggshells and the many, many, many jars that I have all over the house.
All over the house.
Yeah.
So he's very accepting. I'm lucky.
When I read that question, the first thing that came to my mind was like my professional life. It's something that I am not ashamed of and I won't hide, but it is not something that I wear on my sleeve. So I think though in the instances where I have talked to like family and friends and whoever about it, I find that people are more curious than anything. You hear definitely the horror stories that exist and are valid, that it's like people walking up in the grocery store and telling, you know, someone they're gonna go to hell or whatever.
That happened to me in the mall.
I'm so lucky. I've never experienced that. I don't know what I would do.
All I had was pentagram earrings.
Gosh.
Really? I've never had someone say that to me. Mine, people always ask me if I'm a good witch or a bad witch, and I always tell them that it depends on how you treat me. Because I can be so sweet, or I'll mess you up. There's not much in between.
Well, my muggle husband is very accepting. He's like, what's this? I'm like, don't worry about it. He's like, okay, witchcraft.
Yeah.
But he's very good about it. As for work, I kind of am like Ashley. Like, I don't deny it, but I don't walk around being like, I'm a witch. Kind of thing, because I work where there's a lot of Mormons, so.
I also feel like it's sacred and it's private. If
Yeah,
if
you
it
know,
doesn't need to come up, then
Right.
Yeah.
Waving your religion or spiritual belief around is like waving a dick around in your hand. Like, you just don't want to do it, you know?
Not necessary.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but when I talk about it to like someone that like I meet at like a party or something, like I'm 24, okay, I will always be like, oh, are you okay if I talk about this? Before I talk about it, to just kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna sound a little bit crazy for a minute, but like it makes sense in my head, so like go with it with me, okay?
Let me take you down a
yeah,
journey.
Yeah. But I always get like, oh, thanks for asking that. Like, you're the first person ever that started talking about their religious beliefs, being like, are you okay if I like share this with you, kind of a thing. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I get exhausted before the conversation even starts sometimes because there's so many misconceptions that you have to break through before, like just barely bringing up Lucifer. It's like we have to add the disclaimer
Yeah,
that
that
it's
is-
not.
It's not the
That's
fallen angel.
Satan rules the
It's
thing.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get tired before I even start.
Do you really
Right.
eat babies? It depends
No.
on how
Yes.
much they cry.
Yeah. And people just assume that you're Wiccan, and we are very much not
Yes, that's the conversation I hate having. That's the
Yeah.
one that
Right.
makes me tired.
Well,
Wiccan. Wicca is a religion, and they subscribe to the threefold law, and everything is a little more sunshine and bunnies, I
Yeah.
guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
While we are traditional witches, we will, what Mike says, hex and heal in equal measure.
Yeah.
It's not a religion, like a formalized religion,
It's not a cult.
not a cult. It's a spiritual belief, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would not classify it as a religion.
Yeah.
No, Wicca, yes, but
Wicca,
not.
yes, but not
Well-
just being a traditional witch.
And witchcraft itself is the act of doing, like, a spell. Or
Yeah.
the act of
The craft.
transferring that energy and, like, pulling in that energy to manipulate it into what you want it to do. Whereas, like you said, Wicca's a religion. Like,
There's a lot of ceremony to it,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things you have to memorize,
Yeah.
and a lot of ritual to it. So it was a good jumping for me because I left the Catholic Church and went into Wicca because I knew that's where I belonged. And then,
you thought.
well, yeah, but I mean, as far as as opposed to being Catholic.
Yeah.
So I went into Wicca, and it was an easy transition because there's the ceremony and the hierarchy and all of that stuff that mirrored the Catholic Church a little bit. But then things kind of went to hell, and I went solitary.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So I have.
Oh, sorry. Just real quick. I know we like to tease our Wiccan
Cohorts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot in Wicca that we have to be thankful for opening a lot of doors.
Yes.
And for
Yeah.
making the
Definitely.
things that we do palatable and more accepted in like the broader society.
Mhm.
Oh, right. Like, when I started researching witchcraft and stuff, like, all the books were just Wicca.
Yeah.
All of them. Which I devoured them, but I'm like, I don't know if I agree with this part. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, because a lot of them wants you to be like skyclad, which if you don't know what skyclad it means that you're completely nude in front of an entire group of people. We are not that kind of coven at all.
No.
None of us wants to see that of each other. None of us
No.
wants to be out there for each other. That is not the vibe. But I've never been in a Wiccan coven, so don't quote me. But from my understanding, a lot of the Wiccan covens and Wiccan groups are all skyclad. They want you to be completely vulnerable in both an emotional and physical sense.
Yes.
Whereas we're vulnerable with each other in an emotional sense, but that's about it.
Yeah.
That's where the line starts and ends. But
I think for
Yeah.
me that was kind of going back to what we were talking about at first. But that was a green flag with this coven.
Mm-hmm.
Was that was not something that was expected. And I think it's totally fine if there is a coven, Wiccan or otherwise, that's what happens.
Yeah.
The bottom line is consent.
Yes.
your
Right.
comfort level is your comfort.
Right.
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 Yeah.
And I don't think we've been put into a position where any of us have felt uncomfortable.
No.
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 Unsure.
Unsure,
yes.
Uncomfortable or
Yes.
scared.
Challenged, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
It wasn't
getting up
anything
too.
weird.
It wasn't anything weird.
It wasn't anything
Can
real.
we cut that part out?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
No, I wanted to ask though, whereas you were going to a Christian church before.
Mhm.
Now, as you practice hoodoo, how do you feel about the crossover of the two? 'Cause,
I'm fine with it. I don't have the
Okay.
religious trauma like Wendy has.
Gotcha.
It was just it wasn't for me. I love
Yeah.
the ceremony of the Catholic Church and the tradition and the pageantry
Yeah.
of the Mass. I love that. Don't subscribe to the dogma. So it's been pretty easy for me to pick up the Bible again and, I've got, Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
That's an aspersion with hyssop that I shall be made clean.
Right.
Yeah.
My friends are sort of weirded out that I can quote Psalms now.
That's okay.
It's okay.
So,
Yeah.
it's been good.
That's pretty cool. Because, I'm not a hoodoo practitioner. Like, it's not something I really looked into because I just don't feel like that's my path. But I know, like, Austin did do a course on it, and that, like, both of you guys were in the course, so I knew there was crossover, but I wasn't sure how much.
Yeah,
but
I was very comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I learned that Jesus had a foot fetish in that class.
Oh, yeah. Did you not know that?
No.
Oh. It might be the gay, sorry. My bad.
So joining the Coven, what you were just talking about made me think of this. How much of your practice is still solitary? And do you think that that's an important aspect still when you're a part of a Coven?
definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I did not want a coven that was reliant on everybody else to do anything.
Yeah.
So I think we're all very much sovereign witches. We all have our probably even I know I've got my daily practices that I do.
Yeah.
I think everybody does.
Well, and I know, like, in my case, like, witchcraft was something that was kept very hush-hush until my mom found out how deep I was into it, and then it came out that she's from the UK, so back in, like, London, I have all of these family members that completely run this, like, huge Wiccan, like, coven. Like, that's just, have I not told you
No.
that?
I
Yeah,
know that, yeah.
so it's, like, one of the largest covens in the UK, and my family, like, kind of are the high priest and high priestess of it. And, like, it's always been in my, like, lineage to do this. But my mom was nervous about me doing it too young, or, like, knowing, like, if I knew what I knew now when I was 16, like, that would have been a recipe for disaster. Like, either I would have cursed some people so quickly, and so, like, I don't blame her for it, but, like, it wasn't until I was, like, graduating The Awaken the Witch where she literally sat me down and she's like, okay, you're gonna hate me for a couple months for this, but I have to tell you about this, like, you're too far deep into it, kind of a thing. And, like, I have an uncle that's written an entire, he's a scholar at, Manchester University, is that what it is? Something
That's
like that.
wild. Yeah.
On witchcraft and on, like, Wiccan, like,
Wow.
communities. And so, like, it's something that's, like, always been in my blood and has always been, like, a thing in my life. There was just never a name for it. And I feel like in my personal practice, I do a lot of, like, Cornish things, like a lot of Cornish craft. And I know that, like, Wendy does a little bit, you do a little bit, kind of a thing, but as a coven as a whole, we're technically a traditional Italian coven. Like, it's as far away as possible, but there is, like, a lot of crossover there. We all have our own past and our own lineage that, like, we do in our personal life and then respect in a coven sense.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, if I was to pick one, I think the closest that I get to any sort of, like, what type of stuff are you doing in your own time, it would be chaos magic.
Yeah.
So we all kind of do our own thing,
Yeah.
but we show up, and I think that's one of the things that's always stood out to me as we've been going through this dedicancy process, is that I want to become, I'm on my way to becoming, and I see everybody else in this room this way too, as our own freestanding pillars in a coven.
Yeah.
So we can all do all of our own things, and then show up and do the traditional things.
Yeah. We're chaotic. Have you not realized that yet? Okay. So you probably have enough time for one more question. So what do witches do for the community that they live in?
All kinds of things.
Yeah.
So much.
We've
So
gone to
much.
protests.
Yes, we've been
As
protests.
a coven too. Like, I didn't make the last one because I had work. But we've gone to a few.
We do
Trans
fundraisers.
Yeah.
Fundraisers.
We do a lot of work, like, meeting as a coven if something happens, like, politically. So, like, the biggest example I can think of right now is when all of this stuff started happening with, like, trans, like, people. They're in, like, them losing their rights, as well as, like, the LGBTQ community losing our rights, because I'm in there. But we did a huge working then, and I saw some pretty immediate things, honestly. But, yeah.
We are not afraid to throw energy at a cause.
No.
That's
As long
true.
as it's something that's fair for everyone, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because, I mean, at least in my political standpoint, it's don't be an asshole. Like, don't hurt other people, don't harm people, and then anything outside of that, like, that's on you, bro.
Right.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
And we do more tangible things. Like in February, we all
Did charity
Yeah.
work. Like I donated to the Street Dog Crew.
Yeah.
We
Donated blood.
donated blood. We did clothing drives.
Clothing
So many
drive.
clothes.
That's so much.
Yeah. We do a lot for the community, and when we are asked for help, we step up and we help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah.
And we also donate food to animal shelters and stuff like that.
Homeless outreaches.
Homeless
Yeah.
We
outreaches.
do healing work for people who ask.
Yes.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, I think we should probably go and tie the boys. Or
Probably.
We're probably gonna get kicked out.
Yep.
So
Austin already said we're not going to initiate now.
Austin's all bark, no bite. Come
That's
on.
true. That's true.
Okay, anyways, so we're gonna go over some events that we've got coming up because we're excited about them. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we'll all be there for a good majority of them.
Yep. When aren't
Start
we?
us off, Ashley.
So one of my personal favorites is the Seance. That's Saturday the 29th at 8 o'clock.
Should be so much fun.
Yes.
So much fun.
If you're curious, a curious mind, come and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
We also have 3 Journeys of the Fool. It's a series to learn more about the Fool and the tarot.
And each one of those will be on the Sunday.
And then that is, I think it's Saturday.
It's Sunday on here.
Sunday the 6th.
Yeah.
Sunday the
Yeah.
6th at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
We have Witches Mass on this coming Sunday the 30th, 10 a.m.
It's the last Sunday every month.
Yes, the last Sunday every month.
And it is a hoot.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yep.
We have a Llamas Rite that we're doing, and it is family friendly. You can bring the kiddos. I think there'll be activities.
Yep.
It'll be fun. That is on Tuesday the 1st at 7 p.m.
You should definitely sign up for that,
Yes.
and especially if you have little kiddos. I'm hoping you bring yours.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah, I'm definitely going to bring him. He's going to have a blast.
Okay, good. Because I haven't met him yet.
And you have a present for him.
Yes.
Great.
So Saturday the 5th is the most amazing class ever because we are all graduates
We
of
have-
it.
Yeah.
No, we were initiated out of it.
No,
Yeah, we're initiated.
Yeah, we're initiated out of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you graduate Awaken the Witch, you get initiated out of it. Fun times. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yes. But that is the Awakening the Witch class, which, if you didn't gather from the rest of the podcast, is fantastic. It helped us step into our power. It helped us become the witches we are.
Yeah.
It is 6 months this time.
I believe
6
so.
months, yeah.
6 months
Just
every
nothing
week.
compared to my
No,
class.
ours was a year. But it's every week for 6 months, $60 a month.
Yep.
Totally worth it. If you have any interest at all in stepping into your power and learning more about the craft, completely worth it.
And I mean, if you're on the fence about it, take like a class. Sign up for one of the classes. See how you feel about it. If you don't like it, no pressure. But give it that chance. Like, there is so much knowledge that Austin has that he just shares. And so many, like, just everything that he's like, here's the full like understanding of this very particular topic, like here's the history behind it, here's how to work with it, like here's how to move with it, and it's just amazing to go through.
Yeah, really bottom line, if like you need the guidance and you're ready to get serious, it's a great thing to do for yourself and for your practice.
Yes.
And then last but not least, we have the empath class on Saturday, August 6th at 5 p.m.
That's Sunday.
Sunday,
Sorry.
August 6th at 5 p.m. It'll be lots of fun if you're wanting to kind of grow that mental bone and learn more. That is a fantastic class to take as a starter. Yeah.
Well, thanks,
Wow.
ladies. This has been fun.
Thank you guys for listening.
Stay salty.
And stay salty.
Let's go get the boys.